publish on time. All right, so we are live now and we'll start. May I ask, Matua Doug, if you would start us with a karakia?
Tēnei tātou, tēnā te matua e te mai te matuairua tapu. Amen. Mai te wairua tapu, whakuria kero te o mātou ngā kau, ka tura tō aroa me tō māramata. Ka kai mātou i te mau i ngā mahi, hei whakakoria te inua i rungi i te mata te whenua. Ai kia noho tai ai kia kua tara whakamutunga. Mātane mātou ariki mahe ukri tō. Amen.
Amen.
Tēnā koutou, mihi atana hoki kia tātou mai tā mai te rira. Mihi atana hoki kia koe te mini tau te reata. Mau mahara tana hoki tātou mātou nui te rangi. Nō reira kia ora anoko. Kia ora hoki o tātou i mani mini tā mai. Reira, koutou mā, spora mai, hui mai o tātou katoa.
Tēnā kōrua ngā kaumātua. Tēnā rā koutou katoa. Welcome to our manuhiri, welcome to staff members and everybody online as well. So welcome to our Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board meeting for May. And we are just a couple of announcements that we will have a Lifetime Achievements Award nomination. We're called for nominations, so there'll be more information coming out, but if you think of people who have done great things in your community, we'll be calling for nominations for that award. So we'll get into our public forum, and just a reminder that you have up to 5 minutes, and our public forum people, we have just Linda, sorry.
I think we've forgotten this step. Conflicts of interest.
We have forgotten. Thank you, Matua Doug. I'm jumping to the most important part. I will call for apologies and declarations of conflict of interest.
Continuing conflict with the shade cells.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else?
I have two.
Okay.
The Waikiwi application, that's here. It's my whānau down the back. My auntie's part of that. And the Waikapu school applications, I have two.
Kia ora. Thank you for that. Come back to Ireland, 5 minutes. Kia ora. And people can take a seat if they want to, or move the podium in if you prefer.
So apologies for my back.
No.
So call under a hoe. I wear many hats, so Kaikohe Business Association is what I'm standing here representing mostly. And just giving you a few updates. So first of all, congratulations on making it through the last couple of months with the extreme weather events and seeing a lot of you out there and active. Request for services, they're always an ongoing thing, and one of my concerns was up my road, Councillor Thorpe's Road, I call it Stacey's Corner. They've done a lot of work there and they had left the road unmarked, and you came into a basic cross intersection with no guidance at all, and in wet weather, people who didn't know the area didn't know what to do. So many near misses here. So I think a lot of requests were lodged, but I know I spoke to Kelly and she followed that up as well. So thank you for doing that, Kelly. But it's an ongoing concern when you have maintenance happening and they forget about the basic safety issues. A clear stop sign with a mark on the road to know where to stop is, to me, relatively simple. Kaikohe Business Association held a breakfast last Friday morning, very successful, where we discussed a collaborative group working together to address some of the methamphetamine problems throughout the region. So not just Kaikohe, but flow-on effects there. John attended that, so great to have community feedback and ongoing flow through that. With the Business Association, something you may not have been aware of is in the spaces that they're active in, they've also got Kerry Hilton who's the All Heart Shop at the moment, celebrating 5 years, but he has spent 20 years in India, and he's basically networking now with the Indian shops. So getting them together at least once a month, asking them what their concerns are. And it's little things you don't think about, like you can ban somebody from your major supermarkets, but where do they go and do their shopping? Into the smaller locations, the smaller areas here. So concerns about how we can support them in a good way there. Different hat, RSA. So a notice has just been put out. There will be a public meeting on the 24th of May looking at establishing a new committee and working with going forward with plans to combine with the Kaikohe Bowling Club for the RSA here. Friday morning we also had present on the library project, so just being aware some community issues there, and the 1 month that we've got to give positive feedback into what we would like to see happen to the existing library building once that transition happens. We're looking maybe at the end of the year or early next year, but looking for how we can build something within the area. So that's about it for me. I could go on, but yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Linda?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Always interesting to hear from you, Wyatt. And we will come to deputations, and we have Neil Phillips, who is going to speak for 5 minutes on the car.
I believe that I have 3 things that are really precious to this town, but there's only one of them. And the community also thinks so too. Because this book is being signed by the community, most of the community. And first of all, businesses, people done it. And then put a thing in to put this car in the new library. I don't know how to speak for 5 minutes anyway. But anyway, this car is very precious to this community because we've got a racetrack up the road and it's historical to this place. It won the very first Grand Prix and stuff like this. It's probably more valuable in Australia than here. But people already offered to buy it when I was getting names signed. But people put their names in this book for it to stay in this town. And the history of it here. I would have paperwork put together, but I'm not very good at reading and writing. But these are statements, this is the history of it, right in this book here. And it's all part of this community. And the people that kept it here for many years could have sold it well before they started reading it up with it. And I believe that it's these things are very precious to this town and to our community. And so do all these people that put their names in this book. And there could have been a lot more, but I'm a bit slack at going and getting the signatures. You know? But there's enough in there to prove it. You know, I've given copies to the people here. And there's a couple of other things, but I don't mean to talk about them. And they're very historical things that nobody else has got. And I don't know what else to say, but the public put their names in here, and the book is not to be sold when it's put here because it's got the All Blacks in it, and it's got other people that are famous in it. And I never told people when they were signing it that the All Blacks were signing it to ex-All Blacks and stuff like that. So this book is a part of this history of this community. And Northland. It's not just a book, but this book will be part of it. I will make sure that it doesn't get sold to other people just for money. Because, you know, if I told people that the All Blacks had put their names in here, they'd all want to sign it. You know? I didn't tell us all. You know? The Woodman, Waka, Tony Waka, a few other people. And then there's people that played for the New Zealand Maoris. They're in here too, in the coach. They're all in here, and stuff like that. And then, so this stuff is precious to this community. And people asked me to give proof if the people wanted it in the new library that's getting built down there. And this is all the proof I can provide right here. And I believe it's more than enough for myself, but it's up to everyone else. I know it's more than enough. The communities behind it, they pay the rates. They made this town happen. Old Fred Courtney, he was a wrong citizen of this community. And I'm not only doing it for me, I'm doing it for him as well, for their family. And make sure that and try and make sure this happens. I do find it pretty crazy when people say they should put it in the sandpit, something that's so historical. And it's not very good when people talk like that on the phone to me. And I don't want to say who it is, but you know, to me, I care about the community and I care about our communities. And people need to care about our community. And I don't need to sell that rock over there. It had 2 red rubies in it, but my niece stole it out of it, or diamonds, I don't know what they were. There's lots of things in it, but you put a torch on it if you've got time to have a look. If you want to have a time to look at it, or need to talk about it another time. And then there's an anchor. I found it in 94. It got stolen for 20 years and then I found it again. And, you know, and these things, and you never get them again.
So,
And that's all I've got to say. And you're welcome to have a look at it, have a look at the book, whatever, I give them copies to them over here. But it's very historical for our community. And people, it's pretty serious. I'm totally serious about it, sincerely serious. Okay?
so that's a petition that we'll be talking about as a board later on. That is a petition that you brought to us, so that we will be discussing that later on. But for now, do any of our members have any questions for Mr. Phillips?
I have a question for you. Do you want to donate this car to the Kaikohe community, or are you wanting?
They should pay money, but if I have to put it in here and let people think about paying the money for it later, I'll let them put it in the library to keep it in this community.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Christian.
I won't donate my rock because I know it's one of in the world, but I know that there was lots of others, but they were different shapes. And somebody decided to help themselves to off our harbour in the Hokianga, and it's really serious what happened. And people shouldn't have done it. You know, but that's all I've got to say anyway about that.
So Councillor Vusic has got a question for you.
I can't hear.
Yeah, just a quick question. Can you hear me okay? No? Can you hear me okay?
I've got no hearing.
Okay. We'll leave the question for later then. We'll do it in the meeting.
Thank you for coming and bringing this to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think everybody else is here to talk about funding. So that is our public forum. Yeah. So we'll come to the speakers, and on my list, first up, I have the Waitapu Community Centre to speak. So you have 5 minutes.
My name is Anita Wilson. I grew up in Rangi Point, and my mission today is to hopefully be able to get some funding to help us renovate our old Waitapu Māori school. That is now the building is still there. We use the grounds as a community centre, and that was changed in 1983. So over the years, we've actually supported with volunteers to maintain those buildings as a schoolhouse as well. And but we're getting to the stage where things are starting to deteriorate, you know. So this particular school building, it was the first building built in as a school in Hokianga, and it's on its original site. So what we want to do is to restore it. And I know that it's not just about the building, it's actually our taonga, because it represents our culture, our heritage, and our history. And I think it's a really, I feel honoured to be here to represent the community and the foresight of our tupuna, who saw that education way back then was important for the tamariki. So that's why we were able to get land for the Department of Education, was able to get land to build the school on. At that stage, there was no road. The only access we had was horse or walking or swimming. The project, overall, the project, we sort of worked it out to be between 70 and 190,000. Our request was for 54,000. It was not for the 5.4 million. That was a typo error. So apologize for that. But anyway, just getting on. So, but any funding that we will be gifted or given will be a huge boost to what we need to actually get the place up to where we would like to have it. And so, and this project actually aligns with the Far North District Council's pride of place. And that's what we want to do. We make, you know, like we take a whole big pride of our place. And we've spent quite a bit of voluntary labour just to keep the schoolhouse open. It was a teacher's house, so we've done lots of innovations over time to get that done. But the school is actually sort of looked after itself, the building. So I see that it's not a restoration for a building. It is our taonga, and it's something that we can leave for the future generations. And we do have lots of people coming back over time. Just an example, we've got a new wharf that's been there for the last 5 years. And Christmas time, the Christmas period, I counted 54 people on that wharf. And there's people that come from all places because they see it advertised and they want to go and fish on that wharf because they've never fished on that wharf. So our the community centre now, it hasn't been just for us. It has been for the wider community. Like we have people from Mitimiti, Pangaru, all over the place. We used to host school children from everywhere, from the Bay of Islands, North and South Hokianga, right out to Waikare in the Bay of Islands. And we've even had Grant Dalton, who used to come and bring his team over. They used to come on a motorbike and we used to host them. We cook them lunch. So there's been lots of people who have come. We've had marching girls from the Bay of Islands. We've had road clubs, off-road clubs, weddings, birthday, tangihanga, Philip Cooper's movie production. It was used that, they used that for, for the props for that movie. And so I just want to say that I'm just hoping that, you hear our plea. And I just want to thank you for having the opportunity that you've given us to come here, and I feel honoured. Thank you.
Sure. Before you go, if there's anyone with quick questions, we're almost used our time, but any quick questions for Fire?
Yep, I've got several.
Several quick questions.
Yeah. Have you contacted Heritage New Zealand at all regarding the restoration?
Well, actually, I have been trying, and every time I ring, because I ring when I ring Auckland, they say to me, you need to ring the hearing, but every time I ring, there's no reply. And then I sent an email and I didn't get a reply to that either.
I just think that you should really pursue that, because once you get that listed with Heritage New Zealand, your funding options open up massively.
Okay. Yeah.
It's really important. Hang on, I'll put another question. And who, because there's no name on it, who wrote the building condition and restoration report?
Ty Watkins, he's actually, he owned his own building, it's Hayden and Rowlett, if you want to look him up, and they hold big construction business down in Auckland, but he actually wrote at Waikapu as well, and so that's why he's very passionate. So he wrote that description that you would see in the.
And is he also your preferred builder that you plan on using, the one that wants to do free labour?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And he's willing to bring up his builders from Auckland.
And one last question.
Yeah, one last.
Councillor Griffin.
And very quick, Lisa, thanks for that. So this building, I'm just trying to think of the impact into the community if it was restored. It's not been used as a school, but the community do occasionally use it. But if it was restored, how, what opportunities is it going to create?
Well, I think the important part is about maintaining or having a place to display our history. So the idea is to have like a gallery of history, so that we've all got artifacts of all sorts of things since we've been going to school, and we've kept them. And some of us are getting into our twilight years, and we're looking at these things and we're saying, well, what can we do with the stuff? And so the idea is to actually use it so that when our future people come, it's not just the hall, it's actually, it used to be our school. And so, it's all part of our history and education. But yeah, so that's the idea, is to turn it into, and even some of the place names in Rangi Point are getting lost. And so it's about having those up there in the building so that we can see and say, oh yes, and photographs. So that's what we really want to use.
Thank you.
Kapai. I'll call time on it, but I have great memories of having school camps and being in the Rangi Point Waitapu Community Centre. So kia ora whaia. So next up, we have Cherie Wilkinson for Waikiwi Papakainga.
Shari. Ai, kia ora. O kia ora koutou, kanaka me kia koutou. He uri ahau o ki tēnei taha o te Hokianga, he uri ahau no ngai tū, Ngāti Hau, Ngāti Pākau, ki tērā taha o te Hokianga, he uri ahau no ngai tūpoto. O Shari Wilkinson ahau, kia ora. So I represent Waikiwi Papakainga. We're a brand new Papakainga on Tapuwai Whenua, which sits over North Hokianga. We are about 27 members there, and about 18 of us are rangatahi and tamariki. So what we have created there is a kaupapa, which is a year-long kaupapa, and it initially started to get our rangatahi tamariki really actively involved in the taiao, and not only that, but also to reconnect into our tupuna ways of being on our tupuna whenua. So we've named our kaupapa Te Tapuwai, or Tū Whakararo, and we have just recently been granted funding to run that for our kaupapa from Sport Northland to the value of $19,634. So we applied for 25 and we got that much, which we're so grateful for, because that will allow us to to basically run that. And so what I'm asking for, what I'm hoping to get funded, is I have a 6x6 metre geodesic dome, which I want to koha to our papakainga, to get it up, to have a good space to be able to host and run Te Tapuwai o Tū Whakararo, basically. It will just allow us to have more of a central space to meet, a safe space for us to gather and to roll out a kaupapa. So what we're really needing is help with the decking to get the dome put up, and the pathway down there is the real important parts at this stage. We have great interaction with our community leaders here. We've had our kohanga and our kura come to our kapukanga to do native plantings and be a part of this kaupapa. So really for us, it's more than just looking at the calendar and saying, you know, what does that look like on our Gregorian calendar? It's actually following our Mātaka of observing and the outcomes of our Real Run, Se Takawai Tūwhakararoa, the outcomes of this kaupapa is that we want to get our children really actively involved in what does that look like? The trap lines, the pest monitoring, recording all these outcomes, having our kete of tākaro, like games that are, you know, all sort of grounded in what's in their environment. So yeah, basically we want to be able to open this up for our community to come and enjoy as well. And we have incredible facilitators who are on board also to come and join us to roll this out. Yeah. So I hope that.
Good timing.
Oh,
But stay there because we might have some questions for you, Shari.
So if granted the funding, how soon do you envisage your funding would be engaged? I've got a couple.
Yeah.
So firstly, how soon do you imagine your funding?
Our whānau's engaged now.
Yeah.
So if we have the funding, we're good to go. Aye.
Ka pai. And secondly, just to speak to the impact as well, and probably just more of a comment, it would be an amazing space. I know for some of our Kaikohe-Hokianga who
Love that. That's the whole goal. Yeah, for sure.
So I just, on that note, would there be groups able to approach and say, would we be able to come or can? How do you envision?
Absolutely. Yes, there are groups that can approach us, but also would be actively putting it out into our community as well. Yeah, sure.
Any other pathway?
If you get this funding, which quote are you going with?
I have to go with the cheapest quote, unfortunately, for the decking, are you speaking about? Yeah, I have to go with the cheapest quote, and because I know that deck specifically is built for the dome, so I am confident, and we've also already put a deck we've assembled a deck like that before, so we're very, we know how to do that. So I'd prefer to go with that, the quote, unfortunately. The cheaper quote, which unfortunately comes from China.
Kia ora. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming over from North Hokianga. What amazing kaupapa.
Thank you. Kia ora.
And we have Cara or Sandy Lee speaking. Well, they can let you know what they're speaking about. You've got 5 minutes, including questions. I should have said that at the start, sorry.
Tēnā koutou katoa ngā tira mā. Paradoxum tōku noa, I mua hauno mapi, kia ora tēnei ata mō o tāpinga. No reira. So, yes, I'm actually speaking on behalf of South Hokianga Growers Market. And as, I don't know, you all know, but it's at Freeze Park in Omakere. There's 2 parts to Freeze Park. There's the big bit with the playground, and then there's the little bit that we have the growers market in. And it looks straight through to the heads. It's actually the jewel in the crown, we think, of Hokianga, because it looks out straight through Niniwa, Aratu'u, Niniwa, and it is a stunning little park. A couple of years ago, when they did the CDC wall all along that whole strip, they used the little park as a holding space for all the big rocks. They fenced all the area off. After they completed the project, they put the park back together, and it was never the same again, that park. So now the park has got a big lump in it, and it gets wet very quickly. We used to be able to walk through the park. People come to the market, walk through the park easily. Now, especially Kaikohe-Hokianga, everyone, it's a struggle to walk through that part of the road. There's a lot of rocks still there. It's bumpy. I used to actually get the motor and be able to mow a strip, but now we can't because it's there's too many rocks and it's really mushy. So what we were asking for funding for is to actually have that park remediated to how it was before, because it's just not up to scratch anymore. And so we've asked for some local contractors, some quotes to be able to do that. It's actually to fill it, to fill the slump, and then to camber it down the drain. Then it'll drain and it will be much more usable, a lot like it was before. We are a thing, and we would love to have, as far as pride of place goes, we would love to have a picnic table at the end of the park looking out through the heads, because it's the most beautiful place to have a picnic for fun.
Any questions for Cara? I do have a question, sorry, Cara, because and we have discussed this when we met, but this kind of remediation, you've already contacted council and it falls outside the work. This is why you're coming to us, because this is how that you can get the work done to enable everything that you've talked about. It actually being told it falls outside, just to make it clear for everybody listening that it falls outside what staff do.
We've put in several RFSs about this and we've come to no end. So this is why we've come to Pride of Place, to create another avenue to work with council on a solution. I realise everything with drainage, it's complicated and we're patient, and I know it's going to involve quite a lot of departments. And we're very keen to work with council to make that happen. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but this is one way we can flag the project and get it moving.
Yeah. So there will be work done from council, but this is bringing it up to a better standard that you'd like to see. Kia ora. You're all welcome to stay if you like, but we won't be discussing the funding until we're actually going to change the agenda and put the funding discussion right to the end after 8.4. So you're welcome to take off if you like, or you can sit here and listen to us go through our agenda. Up to you. Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Here's one more thing that I forgot to say. I will donate the anchor as part of the deal on the car. The anchor that nobody else has got to. They come off the ship in 1903, and I found it way back in 94, like I said. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to item 6.
I'll give you all a photocopy of it away. I'll get a copy out here made and give it to you.
Right. We're going to move on to item 6.1, confirmation of previous minutes. That is on page 10. And the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board confirm the minutes of the meeting held 8th of April 2026 to be a true and correct record. Do I have a mover? Member Orm, do I have a seconder? Member Van Galen, any discussion or amendments?
I have a question. When Dennis, it's totally for you guys, when Dennis left the meeting to speak to his funding application, should that be noted in the meeting? Because he did get out of this chair and almost leave the meeting, but not leave the meeting.
Good point.
because he was speaking as an individual for that.
Yes.
So is there a recommendation to correct that?
Is that right? Yeah, please.
So are you happy to continue with that? All right, we'll put that to the vote. In favour, say aye. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you, Pano. We will move to item 7.1, which is on page 17. And that is, the recommendation is that it's around the appointing a representative to the Accessibility Action Group. So the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board appoint blank member as a representative on the Accessibility Action Group. Do we have somebody to move this?
I'll move it with a blank.
Blank. I'll second it. Happy to second it. There might be questions. Who do we direct questions to around what this means? Kilda, can you explain to us what the group is and what commitment people might be making before they stick their hand up or get voluntold?
So our Accessibility Action Group is a group of volunteers that have a range of different disabilities, and they're an advisory group. So they meet, I think, 4 or so times a year to discuss how we can reduce accessibility issues for residents around the district. So there's a strategy that they helped us to develop. So it's tracking progress against the strategy, but also looking for new opportunities to reduce barriers.
Okay. And so is there anybody who would like to put their hand up so that we can put a name and appoint somebody or have that discussion? For the accessibility. I wondered about you, Matua Eddie.
Volunteer. You don't have to be disabled to be on.
No, you don't have. I'll just should we? Do you want to have a little think about that? Your name.
Yeah, that's fine.
You put your name forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is there anyone else who wants to vie for that position? Okay, so if we add that to the recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board appoint member Court, so I was going to say Matua Eddie, member Court as its representative on the Accessibility Action Group. So I have a mover.
Yeah. Can we put his full name, Eddie Court, in there?
Member Eddie Court.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just so it's clear.
Yes, so it doesn't get confused with another member who has the name Court. Oh, sure. Yes, thank you for that. Was it you seconding member Mokaraka?
Yep.
Kapai.
We actually have a move in a second for that. We're just putting blanks in everyone.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
We're just filling blank.
I'm glad you're here, Councillor Bissett. So all in favour say aye. Any against? Any abstaining? Congratulations, member Eddie Court. Well done. So we'll go to item 7.2, and this is on page 23. And this relates to the request from Te Runanga o Ngāpuhi that asking for a member from this community board to be appointed to their Kaikohe-Kai-Whiringa Town Activator Initiative Project Group. So the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board appoint member blank as its representative on the Kaikohe-Kai-Whiringa Town Activator Initiative Project Group. Do I have a mover? Member Tawaki, as I heard a seconder here with member Mukuraka. So we'll just have a discussion around that. As our mover, would you like to speak to that, Matua?
No, for me, it's creating. No, for me, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. It's just that nice, someone's got the time to hear it and the energy to be there. Wasn't your advice?
Kia ora.
That does consolidate a lot of the mahi I'm doing. So I'm regularly engaged with Edith. I'd be happy to put my hand up, but also happy to sit alongside and support anyone.
I also want to put my hand up for that one as well, because I think that it fits my pitches.
Kia ora. Any further discussion? So what I just, if I got this right, so Member Van Galen's keen and you're already involved, so you're happy to total? Is that?
I prefer to sit in a community board. There's the opportunity, but again, happy to share that table with the Van
I'm just looking at me. So what is the process to?
Just a comment. Maybe I should be seconding it so there's no conflict.
Sure.
Yeah, and just if we can change that, if everybody's happy with that.
How the board wishes to decide who to appoint is up to you. You can paper, scissors, rock. You can told. We can conduct like a ballot, like we did Emily did the chairperson role. Up to you.
With our portfolios with the community representation regarding the parks, Kelly and I both received a number of those roles. Could we do the same here?
Because it's an invite from them, I'm not sure whether or not they're open to having two, but we can propose it. And if they're not happy with two, we can bring it back to see if the board then has a preferred representative.
What would that mean? We leave it to lie and take it back to them?
We can put both names forward and just say that the board wishes to appoint two people in that space and see how they go.
Does that change our resolution, or we just add two names?
You can add two names into the blank.
So who was the mover that was? Are you happy to add two names?
Yeah, I'll second it. So we've got Kelly and
Are you happy with that, Kelly?
Yeah, sweet.
Kelly and Scarlett.
And I mean, the option is always there as well for the urging to choose one of us, or if we prefer to go down it.
Let's stick with the resolution that we've just got. We'll propose two names and then go through, see what the trial comes back with, if any changes are needed to be made. So I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Any against? Any abstaining? Probably the members who are halfway. Well done, team. It's teamwork for us. Okay, so I am moving the 7.3, the funding applications, to the end of the agenda. So we're going to move along to item 7.4, which is on page 108. And we don't have our Melissa. We have our Stevens. Oh, you're catching up. Councillor Burbridge.
I can move things along.
So the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board note the May 2026 member report, Chairman Day and member all. We have a mover in Councillor Bursich. We have Matua member Te Waki as a seconder. Do we have any discussion or questions?
Just in terms of my report through the chair, the RFS system is totally inadequate. You can see from the number of RFS requests that I've been putting in, the lack of response or lack of even understanding if council is going to act on it or not. It's just not satisfactory. I know that I can follow up on an RFS, but that's not how an RFS process works. It works by customer service, feedback in terms of whether action will be taken or not. And you've seen over the last 3 months the number of requests, and many of those are still waiting for action.
Any questions for member Orm?
But I'd like to respond. I actually think member Orm, yes. But that basically, you're right. It seems to be hit and miss depending on where he puts the RFS in. And that's really not good enough. What we're trying to do, what I'd love to see actually happen, is have all those RFS requests online, back to anybody, and also when there's multiple RFS for a certain area that can be more efficient. So that's some work that needs to be done internally, and certainly I'll be pushing that as hard as I can again, see what we can do to improve it.
And I think there's some of that work is in train, as to my understanding. Cool, so we'll go back to that resolution of noting those reports. All in favour, say aye. Any against? Any abstain? Got a koto. So we will come to 7.5, which is your supplementary agenda item. And finding my supplementary of this. And that is on page 11 of your supplementary item. So this is around our footpath prioritisation for 2025-26. And the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approve the delivery of the following community prioritised footpath projects identified at the April 2026 workshop. 1, Pangaru Kura to Pangaru Clinic, West Coast Road. 2, Kotu Point Road, Opanoni, Te Kura Kaupapa o Te Kaikohe-Hokianga to Kotu Loop Road. 3, Freeze Park Road or Market, and B, approves the delivery of the Horiki Clinic footpath extension as part of the 2025-2026 program, and C, where the program funding is insufficient, approves the use of the one-off allocation of up to $25,000 from the Kaikohe-Hokianga 2025-2026 Town Beautification Capital Budget to fund the Horiki Clinic footpath extension as set out in option 2 of this report. So, do we go to questions first and then, or do I need to move it and then go to questions? Okay, I'll move that, and Member Van Galen will second it. Does anyone have any questions to our
Yeah, I do have a question. I actually missed the last community board meeting. I had a conflict, unfortunately. Can't remember what it was now. It might have been local water so well. Oh, that's right.
What is your question, Councillor?
So the question was, I was on the plane then. Question was really the Horiki decision there. What you've included that, because I know you covered that in the last meeting. So just what was covered, because I missed it out. So I apologise for that. Just very quickly, but I'm happy with that. And that footpath, though, we should be looking with the cycle trail as well. Just making a note, so that because there's potential funding from council,
I'll let
you may actually have a response to that.
This.
So that's what I'm trying to do, catch up. And certainly 1, 2 and 3, no problems with that. They look good.
Oh, I can speak to that. It's a very particular section of the Horiki footpath. It's a very small section that joins up to existing footpaths in front of the Horiki Clinic.
Okay.
So that is, but in our discussion, we absolutely did note around the cycle trail and other uses and to take advantage should those opportunities arise. But this is a very specific section that a deputation came to speak to. Yeah. So any other questions to our staff? Do you have a question for our staff?
Well, just through the chair, the overall context, we did a lot of work on a long-term plan. We submitted that. There's now a draft long-term plan.
The strategic
plan.
Yeah.
So how do these initiatives fall within that long-term strategic plan? Or are these just being done in isolation and we don't know what the rest of our plan is?
So that we didn't, and I will stand to be corrected perhaps by our advisors over there, but with our strategic plan that we're still pulling together, we have the separate funding for things like footpath allocation and other items fall outside of our specific strategic plan, but I will hand it over to staff if you have some adding to that.
Yes, so
I think one of the key things is what was presented to workshop was the list of projects that had previously been discussed, of which some designs had also been done. And that was back from the minutes that I referred to in the paper. So we took into account all the information that we had available previously. The fact that you've got a strategic plan, there was an assumption made that what was in the previous, all the previous stuff would have been included in your strategic plan. We can double check that for you, but we certainly didn't add, sorry, when I say we, it was the community board members who sat in the workshop who actually talked about what were all the footpaths around the area that needed to be looked at, which is why there is different locations, because it was trying to spread the funds across the whole community. So I believe we have taken the gist of what you intended with the strategic plan. But if you want us to double check, I'm sure we can do that.
I can speak to that, Faye. So with our previous strategic plan, some of these footpaths have been included in it, and deputations that have previously come to us. And so until we have a solidified and accepted strategic plan, this current one is in draft, but the previous one that was accepted by council included such things as supporting our smaller communities and so on. So this definitely falls within that. The decisions were made partly because this specific pot of money is around what needs to be spent in this financial year. There was a particular amount. The objectives are in line with the previous strategic plan, but also I believe with our priorities and our values that will be encaptured in our new strategic plan, which is, spreading the love across our communities, to put it shortly. So in our workshop, which I believe you were not able to come to, in our workshop, the members chose what was affordable for this financial year, that a lot of work had already been done and all of those projects had been brought to us previously. So I think if there are any more questions to our staff, Kia ora.
Kia ora. For the footpaths, have the contractors from the likes of Pangaru or North Hokianga, the locals to build a footpath? Do we know that, or how that process was?
So right now we haven't gone and approached any contractors yet, because until we've got approval to proceed, we're not going to go and approach any of the contractors. We do have a design for the longest footpath, which is the one related to Kotu Point. The other two bigger ones will need design. The small 20-metre Hareki one should be able to be done as a design and build. So once we've got approval that this is the right list to do, we will be approaching contractors, and we will do our absolute utmost to try and utilise local contractors to the area where the footpath is as best we possibly can.
And that korero came up in the workshop and definitely was part of that korero. And Matua Douglas going to work with the team for the Hokianga and so on. So that was definitely part of the korero. I have one more question. And just with the Kotu Loop Road, as we quickly discussed, does this allow, if once the Kura Tumuaki had a korero around the exact locations that suit, and so is there room within this recommendation for sort of changing the length of that footpath in line with budget, or is this very specific because it says to Kotu Loop Road?
So let's just be clear that there's an amount of funding available and we can't exceed the funding.
Yes.
However, once we go out to the contractors and identify how much can be done with the funding available, and they come back and say, because those are rough orders of cost that were put into the paper, if they come back and say that's going to cost some crazy amount of money, we have to relook at it. If they go, actually, that will cost less than what we had originally thought, then there certainly is room to work with the Kura to understand exactly how far they think it should go to provide the safety for the Tamariki.
All right, we have one more question.
Last question.
Yeah.
So with the $25,000 regarding the town beautification, so my understanding is that that existing footpath comes from existing program funding?
Which?
So regarding the web program, yeah, so item C on the recommendation web program. I'd just like to understand what gates are in place to protect the beautification allocation as much as we can.
I can speak for that one as well.
Yeah.
So, were you at our workshop? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, and at the previous beautification one, you were that.
Yeah.
So, my understanding of this is that our priorities would be using that footpath allocation money as much as we can. If there, so Horike was kind of like a backstop.
Yeah.
If we needed to, only if all this other putia was spent, then we have that allocation from the beautification fund for Horike. But if we are able to get it out of the existing fund for this financial year, then we would definitely use that, prioritise that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I mean, as I say, for me, it's just protecting that beautification budget for its purpose. And so making sure that, I guess just making sure that there are gates in place and what do those gates look like? Because that's a significant amount to me. That's almost 50% of the beautification budget. So, relative, to me, a top-up amount might be 10, maybe 20,000. But yeah, it's just for me, it's understanding is there a detailed budget for that program? What are the cost ratios looking like? And I'm happy to receive that offline.
At the moment, we're still, as I alluded, these costs are very estimate at this particular moment in time, which is why with the estimates we were thinking potentially we may go higher than the budget, which is why we've said rather than have to come back to you again.
Yes,
let's see if we can ring fence that 25,000. We can then look at it, and we will look at this in a way that, as we said, we try and use local contractors, but we're equally very mindful of making sure that we get a quality and within that a decent price point as well. So,
sorry.
So we will manage these programs as we go. As we then get our estimates and we understand the true costs of it, then we can look at the projects, all 3 or 4 projects holistically. Where do we land? If we see that obviously this is going to go well above, we would come back to you for sure. If we see that we sit within that lower point of the 25, I think you're comfortable with us to make a decision to go ahead and do the work, and then we will report back once it's all done. If we see that we are literally going to be very close to 25, again, we would come back to you because we want to make sure that you're across that spend as well, because it is a lot of money, 25,000, and you can do a lot with 25,000. So we're 100% understanding that for sure. It just allows us just that little bit of an ability to look at what do we need to do, including working with the Kura as well to making sure that, what we are providing is actually good for the community and not just what we like to do. Yeah.
And my understanding is that we had already made a resolution with the potential of a out of policy use of that money for the footpath, because that was what they came to talk to us about. So I think that you've explained it, and if any major change, you will come back to us.
Absolutely, yes.
So I'm going to put that to the vote. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstain? Carried. We look forward. Some of these footpaths have been a very long time coming. Thank you so much. So we will go to item 8.1, which is on page 115 of our main agenda. You with me, John? And this is coming up to our open resolutions and actions updates. And the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receive the report, open resolutions and actions update, May 2026. Do I have a mover?
Yep.
Member Orm, seconder, Councillor Vursich. Any discussion?
I just want to comment basically that the library has design has been finalised a while ago. It was done in consultation with the community. And it's a library space, modern library space. And the current building is being completed. There's no space for a car.
Are you looking, which item are you looking at? Sorry, Councillor Vursich.
Just,
We're not there yet.
oh, I've turned the wrong page.
Righty.
Yes, yeah. I jumped ahead.
I'll go to our mover. Do you have
I turned the
anything?
page. It was in the other book, so
I was so
no
confused.
problems. I'll second this one too. No problems with that. Receive the report.
Do we have any discussion? And I'll go to our mover as is in standing orders. Any discussions
No
about
discussion.
receiving that report?
No discussion, Chair.
How high? All right, I'll put that to the vote and all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? Thank you. Can't throw me, Councillor Wilson.
No, you said it completed.
Item 8.2, which is on page 122. Okay. The Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board received the report for Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board Annual Information 2024 to 2025. I'll move it. Do we have a seconder? Member Tiwaki. So it is an extensive report with a lot of information in there, which is very useful to have. It's a good prompt, perhaps, for us later in the meeting to discuss our roles and responsibilities as our appointments to our boards. But at this point, we're just receiving the report. So is there any other kōrero people want to have?
Just one from me. I attended the Kaikohe Community Association week at the community hall. They recently had a fire in their kahini, but they wanted to give their thanks to the council who have been really helpful in the repairs and replacement, and they've been supported with a lot of things. There's still a few bits to go, but they send their thanks.
That's good.
Any other discussion on receiving this report? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Any against? Any abstain? All of that has been carried. So we will go to item 8.3, page 220. Okay, page 220. The recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receive the report for Kaikohe-Hokianga Domain Management Committee's Annual Information 2024 to 2025. Do I have a mover?
Yeah, information.
Councillor Vursich. Matua Doug, Te Waki. Councillor Vursich, do you have any comments?
No comments from me.
That's all right. Any other discussion on receiving this report? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All in favour?
No.
Any against? Abstain? Nobody. That is item 8.3. So we'll go to item in the supplementary agenda. That is page 19 in your supplementary agenda.
Still having the segment.
You don't have it?
I do.
Oh.
Spoken to it before. She'll have to second it.
I thought she said you hadn't seen it. Okay. So the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receive the petition, historic racing car housed and displayed at Te Ata Haere Kaikohe Library and Civic Hub building. So this is just receiving this petition, Arno. So you were moving that, Councillor?
I can move. We're just receiving it.
We're receiving.
I'll second it.
And Member Ormore, second, receiving that.
Yeah, my comments the same as before. The library's design was done long ago. No room on a museum in there, as far as I know. But I tend to agree with what Neil Phillips is saying, that is a historic car, and certainly for car enthusiasts, they can see it's important, but it should be in a museum somewhere.
There's one big question that I asked him too. He's not donating it. He wants to donate a really big amount of money for it. So just receive the petition, I would say.
Yeah, I just want to call us back to, we're not discussing where the car should be going. That's a really interesting corridor, and perhaps some people can support Mr. Phillips with that. At this point, we're just receiving the petition. Okay?
Yep.
And so Aish, unless Aish is going to correct me.
Our recommendation was that it just be received, but if you are a little bit want us to look into what that could look like further, then we'd appreciate guidance in that way. Otherwise, at this stage, we've said we'll just receive it without any further actions.
So do we have that discussion before we, do you want to have that discussion now about some direction before we move? Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay, so throwing me quickly into a different discussion.
Sorry.
Thank you, Aisha. So I will open up. Is there anybody who would like to make comment about the direction, or give some direction to staff around this racing car project idea? So you did have an idea, I guess.
No, I said it should be in a museum. The project that's forward, but I'm not stipulating which museum. I know there are a lot of car enthusiasts out there, and they do look after historic cars, and they use it as an investment opportunity. And I'm not against that either. It's up to.
Do you have a direction for staff of what that might look like?
Not really. I think unless you do know who to contact. I do know there is the historic cars group. Maybe they should be alerted to it. I don't know. I'm not. It's sort of outside council business, really.
Could I make a suggestion, because I know what you need to do? You need to ask him how much he wants for it, and he will give you a figure. And from that point, then the council can say yes or no. And it will give him a clear answer, because he wants the dollar.
Okay, I'll go to Maturi then.
You mean myself? Not everybody in Kaikohe are car enthusiasts. Now we have to think about that too. And I go along with Councillor Beatrice. We look at a museum or something like that. And of the cost, we're not going out to pay money for anything. Preferably donations are good. We'll accept that.
And sometimes for these precious items, sometimes they're on loan to museums and other places. So there's some direction of ascertaining how much money that Mr. Phillips was after.
So I understand he has given us a figure, and he has been very clear, but the conversation we wanted to have more today was whether or not you feel that there would be community support for the car to be on display at the library. So I think Councillor Vucic's commentary that design process has already taken place, and we can provide feedback that the board suggested that a museum might be a more appropriate place for the car to be made available for community.
Revolving exhibitions, though, are something that is quite sort of like an attraction. So, when Easter Stampede is on in this town, and Fred Courtney was a Whakaari local that was a racing man, then that's got some value in it too. Like, it doesn't have to be housed there permanently. But
I guess it's
when
about-
we suddenly go no straight out, it doesn't, you know. So you've got to deal with him very, you know, firmly. But yeah. Hopefully it's gonna.
Yeah, I guess the question from us is how much, like if it's a role that we can or want to play or have an appetite to play, is it just helping him coordinate other conversations or, I don't know, I guess that's sort of where we are, is that right?
Is that, we as in board or we as in staff?
Well, that's right, yeah, that's right, we as in,
We as in staff.
it's sort of how much support do we want to give him from the start?
I think so. Members one.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kelly first and foremost. Because if he wants us to be his conscience to sell that vehicle, sell it. Where it goes from there, that's still up to him. It's got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we can be his conscience and tell him, sell it. Get the best money you can online, Australia, wherever, sell it. And then he can make his own decision. It's not here at our table. Because then he's gonna emotionally blackmail the seller that it needs to be secured somewhere. That's not how you do this. So.
No, just thinking of it in the library, I cannot guarantee that my 2-year-old won't jump all over it and wreak such a tonga. So just the appropriateness of it as well, because he will do damage. So, and I can't guarantee that, you know, I'm going to be there to stop it. So just the practicalities of it being in the library too, and the safety of the waka being a tonga might be the best option for us.
So I do want to move us on, but I'll just close with, so I recognise that it is a taonga for the people who, you know, for people who are car enthusiasts or, you know, that type of history. So I do recognise that. In terms of direction to staff, do you have enough kind of, how much money does he want? Put it, but I like the idea, are there revolving exhibitions and so on. So going to come back to the vote. All in favour of receiving the petition? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Abstain. So that has been carried. So we will go back to item 7.3, the funding applications. Finding the right page, and that is page 26, and we have our fund writer, our funding advisor, so in the room with us.
And through the chair, I will address one of those now, if that's okay.
Sure.
Now that's the South Hokianga Growers Market. I did make a recommendation for funding for this one. Some things have changed since I wrote the report. I'm actually recommending at this moment that be left to lie on the table because there's a lot of work going on in the background. We are working a lot with the team about the drainage side of things, and that needs to be resolved first. We were hoping to be a lot further away along than we are at the moment. But I have also spoken with Cara and Sandy Lee, so they are aware that this is the recommendation that I'm making today, that it be left to lie until everything else is sorted out.
And that answers my question, because being that work there, we could save money. And it's really a council connection and all that. So I've got council written on there, just what aspect of it is.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to
Move to leave that to lie. I'll second that one. That is, so I'll read out the recommendation of that particular item. So that is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board leave to lie on the table
Just leave.
So I'll read it. Leave to lie on table the application from South Hokianga Growers Market. Is that sufficient? Yeah. And we've had a mover and a seconder. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. Anyone against? Anyone abstain? Okay, so that was the easy one. Yeah.
I do have a question, Madam Chair, on the first item there.
We're coming up to the first item.
Yeah, maybe discussion first because just have a discussion on it. I'm happy to move it as well, but have people move it as a blank and then we can have a discussion.
Yeah, well, let's move it and then have a discussion. Otherwise you'll confuse me, councillor, your section.
Move it as a blank.
Okay, so the recommendation, we'll go to the top one. That is, well, actually they're different on the different pages, so bear with me. So the recommendation that I have in front of me is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approve the sum of blank plus GST, if applicable, to be paid from the board's private place fund account to Rawene Community Hall Committee for costs towards civil defence upgrades 2026. And Councillor Music has moved it.
Yep.
Do we have a seconder?
And I can.
And Councillor Mokara has second, and we'll go to our mobile.
Yeah, the question I had was to start is this is an upgrade for civil defence, and I look at the civil defence budget. Why are we actually looking at community board looking at funding?
Through the chair, there isn't. A lot of that funding has been removed and it has been exhausted. And I have tried to get funding from NEMA and Civil Defence for this, and there just isn't anything, particularly with all the disasters we've had.
And the supplementary question, very similar. So the Rawene Community Hall would be appreciated. Any changes to that? Is that not a fund that is there for that purpose, for upgrades to the hall?
We've tried before to get funding for that and have not been successful. I don't know, but they tend not. It's a finance side of things.
Can I add?
It is being depreciated.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we get the money for it.
The funding that would be collected, we think. This is looking at upgrade to the hall. So I'm a little bit, re-giving funding, it just seems like double dipping.
Through the chair, if you look at what they're actually looking for, a lot of it is things like cables and that sort of stuff. So depreciation would not generally fund those sort of things.
I'm going to add in here, and I should have actually mentioned I potentially have a perceived conflict of interest on this. So I am one of the volunteers for Rawene Civil Defence. That's a volunteer informal group, a community response group. So this technically is not essentially our hall upgrade. This is to provide the ability for our community of Rawene and beyond and visitors, should another event occur, a civil defence event occur, it actually enables the Rawene Hall to have things like lights and so on. So it isn't so much around the hall's requirements, it's around a request from that informal group to enable a space for the community to go to. It's one of the safest places that anybody can get to, and it's a public space. And it sits, if you know Rawene, the hall sits next to the Rawene, what we call the Grand Building, which is Rawene and districts.
Yeah, Rawene.
And that's our centre for where we meet as civil defence. And if we have just a handful of people to evacuate, that's the initial place. They have solar that can serve for a small amount of people. The church next door is a place where we store some of, they lend us the ability to store some things like mattresses. So it isn't really a hall upgrade. This is coming through the need for civil defence. I'm a member of that group, but get no benefit apart from everybody getting a benefit if there's need for evacuating. We'll go to, Aish, and then member Orr.
I just wanted to provide some reassurance that it might be a perceived conflict, but I don't feel that it would be something that you'd need to declare or remove yourself on the table. And then I guess also just an apology, because on page 26, it does say civil defence upgrades, but you're right, it's not upgrades to the infrastructure or the building. It's, as per page 27, purchasing equipment to better fulfil the needs of the community. So it's more around building that community resilience and weather events. So on page 36, there's listed items that they intend to purchase. So it's more a generator, so not costings that would be eligible for depreciation.
We'll go to member Orr and then member Raka.
My preference is for this recommendation to be tabled. Civil defence is a regional issue. We have the decimation of Whirinaki. We had what occurred in Waimamaku. We have the opportunity for economies of scale to purchase equipment to place in those civil defence and, of course, the Kaikohe Civil Defence Centre. And if we did that as a regional approach, we may get NRC funding or other funding from council. So for me, to do this in isolation isn't meeting the civil defence need.
I guess just one thing from me is, would it be coming out of the Pride of Play Fund, or would it be a better place coming out of Community Board Fund? And I guess secondly, just for the amount it is, and knowing the role that it has to play in an emergency, I don't think. I'm just wondering why it's such a hard decision. To me, it looks very, just the impact that it achieves. Acknowledging member Orm's concerns around, there is regional funding, absolutely, but this is, we've got an opportunity, we've got the budget there. My preference would just be that it comes out the community board fund, but it's actually, to me, it's absolutely the stuff we should.
There was a question within that, I think, around whether that was a community grant or private place.
It could go through the chair, it could go through either. At the moment, you don't have a huge amount of money left in your community grant fund. And next month will be the last month to allocate all your funding. I'm already looking at over $25,000 worth of application for next month, not including the one we've left to lie today. So at this stage, it is up to the board which pot you want to take it out of.
So who moved and seconded?
I moved it.
You moved it.
I'm happy to put the full figure in there. Similar to what Scarlett was saying. But I also do think there is what I've been saying and Dennis has been saying, there is actually a trick missed here, and this is civil defence as a whole, and Mariah's a part of that too, as you well know. So that's probably some more work, a recommendation the board need. I'm going to add that and recommend to council to look at civil defence region, district. Regional funding or things like this. But I'm happy to put the format on here.
Did you capture what you needed to capture, Aisha?
But we can word it.
We'll just,
We'll do
is that part of you? Are you changing your recommendation, or you just
No,
want to
I'm just
add that
putting it-
$2,380?
Yeah, 2,380, and then add that. I don't know who seconded it.
I did, I believe.
We can do that separately. We can do that as a
An
amendment. Thank you.
Are you happy to second that amendment?
Yes, happy to second
Which asked.
So just a recommendation, because all we can do is recommendation to council. Given this issue, as staff know, that we look at a regional.
Further consideration about region-wide climate.
Regional-wide civil defence funding to accommodate places like this where they can be set up. Regional-wide, you can just leave it as that, regional-wide civil defence funding for
couple.
Support that.
communities.
And saw this morning that Te Kaikohe-Hokianga are looking at setting up something similar in a Te Taitokero response hub so that resources can get to marae in a more timely manner, because as we all know, marae are the first to stand up in times of need. So to support, not to support Te Kaikohe-Hokianga, but to follow in that sort of let's get the resources here in Te Taitokero through your amended motion.
Well, it sounds like Dennis is making the amendment and you're seconding that.
No, okay, just pause on this.
I thought it was already moved.
Just pause on this. We have a motion from Councillor Vusic and an amendment that has been agreed upon, and that was specific to this amount, 2,380 for this recommendation, and the amendment was to council to look into further supporting of civil defence response by community and marae, some words to that effect.
Regional funding for civil defence for responses.
Civil defence. Yeah.
Response.
So were people wanting to make other amendments, or can we just make
No, I was
that?
supporting that one.
Okay.
What I was saying is I was wondering if I can actually do that. What do you think? If I can, let's do it.
So could you guys read that out?
Yeah.
I have, and recommend that council further consider regional wide civil defence funding to accommodate places, to accommodate community response groups. Do you want like marae and community halls?
Yeah, you could put that in there.
Or such as the example considered as part of the funding application.
It makes a lot of sense to use what exists. Yeah.
So my understanding of that is you are moving this amount with an addition of it. Please go and look for something which is to look at members. Kaikohe, we all good?
Can I just seek clarification, because we had the motion moved and seconded, and so you're just adding this petition rather than an amendment?
No, I want it to be a recommendation because it carries weight. If it's a recommendation from community, so I put an and there and then include the statement.
Okay, just a second. Okay, I'm going to put that to the vote. All in favour? Aye. Anyone against?
Unanimous.
No abstentions. Well done. We've got a couple ticked off. The next one on my paper is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approve the sum of blank plus just, if available, if applicable, to be paid from the board's community grant fund accounts to Jackman Entertainment Limited towards the cost of Sabre Northland. Do I have a mover of this?
I'll leave it.
Okay, I'll second it. And would you like to speak to that, member Bangaran?
Well, it's been sitting on our agenda now for a really long time, and I wanted to support it in the beginning. But we didn't have enough money, but now I do believe that we actually could fund it from that account. And if we cannot fund it from that account, then we could make an out of policy with place if everyone else wants to support it.
Do you have, can we insert an amount? Do you have an amount in mind for that?
Recommendation.
Well, the recommendation says 2.5, but Te Huku gave them 4. And they got kudos on the radio for it. So I believe that we should be like matching them.
So your recommendation is 4 from the community grant?
Yeah,
I'm happy to second that amount. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm just mindful that they've already had 20,000 in grants for this program, and this is a commercial enterprise. And how far do we prop up a commercial enterprise?
Is it though? Like, you know what it's doing is it's bringing people from the other end of the country to the Hokianga and through town. So without them doing such an event, those people are not going to come. So, I mean, is that not...
Will you use your right of reply, member Bangar?
Oh, no, I'm getting like all upset.
Okay, I'm gonna pull us in. Okay. we're going to practice standing orders, whānau.
Sure.
So member Vangala moved, I seconded. And so I'm going to speak to it. Then we have gone out of order, but I'm going to try and pull us back. Then we'll go, after myself, we'll go to member, I will keep putting his stuff. And then we'll go around the table before we vote. So I too had my reluctance. It is a commercial venture. I saw and I looked at the numbers. What has swayed me to support this application is that we had our own people who from the sands and from our Mānia whānau come to speak to this application. They are long-standing business members and community members in Hokianga, and they spoke very highly. And a lot of people have said that it brings people in, and those tourism places employ a lot of our young ones. And it's at a time of year that is very quiet, so it brings people into accommodation and so on. So since I first looked at it, I changed my mind to be in support. I'll go to Member Mooraka.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'd prefer to go with the recommended amount. And similar to you, Dennis, I just, there's any number of commercial things I do this stuff for a living, and I know how you can make it commercial, and it's not a hard formula. But also to acknowledge what it does do for the community, and for those members or those community members who came to support it. To me, that's what that 2,500 reflects.
So just pause on that in terms of, is this asking for an amendment? So what is the correct process? Are you asking to amend the amount?
It's a foreshadowed amendment.
You're foreshadowing an amendment to a different amount.
Technically, there's no such thing as a foreshadowed amendment. So member Mokaraka could move an amendment to the amount now, or if what is suggested, like the 4,000, didn't pass, then a new amount could be.
But no, it's another one altogether. You're right, Asha. It's foreshadowed.
Okay, so we're not foreshadowing.
It's not a
So I'm going to put it to the vote. If that vote fails, we can come to a different amount. So you want to?
Yeah, I'll speak in favour of it for another $1,500 because it's actually it's an economic development initiative. Well, private businesses are involved, and yes, they do. It does cost them money. They do make money out of it. Actually, it's a really Northern New Zealand. They call it Northern Inc. Formerly. Initiative that was pushing it to try and get tourism coming through to different places, and you eloquently chair gave a pretty good run, which I won't repeat. So I don't mind the extra $1,500 there.
So standing orders say that if 3 people have supported it, then I can move on. But I want to give you the opportunity, Member Court, if you want to have to say about this to the vote.
Yeah, I just go along with Councillor Paul said. They've had their fair whack at it. And I just go along with our recommendation of Mokaraka that, $2,000.
Okay, so I'm going to put it to the vote for the first vote for the 4,000, and if that fails, we'll come back. So for 4,000, all in favour? That has been carried. Kia ora. Okay.
And the votes against, do you want to?
Do you want to record votes against? Sorry. Thank you, Aisha. Okay, Member Ormer's against. Member Mokaraka. Did you vote? You vote to support. Yeah. Any abstaining? Sorry, whānau. Still moving the ropes when we're going to this process. Okay, moving along to the recommendation that Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approve the sum of blank, plus just if applicable, to be paid from the board's pride place fund account to the Royal New Zealand Plunket Trust for costs towards whānau awhina Plunket Kaikohe Playground. Do we have a mover for this application? Member Mokaraka moves and Member Court seconds. do you have an amount that you would like to put forward?
Yeah, I'd like to go with the recommended.
The recommended amount, which is $10,000. Did I have a question to our funding advisor at this point? So you had some renewed information. Would you like to share that with us?
So the applicant came back to us and said that they do have someone that is willing to make up the $7,000 shortfall, because they initially asked the board for $17,000, because someone in the community saw this in the agenda and went, if the board does grant you $10,000, we will make up the $7,000 difference. They want to be anonymous. They are obviously a member of this community and they're very supportive of what this board and that group are.
Anonymous, eh?
Anonymous. I don't even know who it is, and I have not asked, and I will not ask.
Okay, and now,
it ain't me. I ain't got that money.
In our practice of standing orders, I'm going to go to the mover first, then the seconder. Then I remind us we'll go through the order to speak to that, and then we'll come back to right. So,
I just think it's great. I think they've been really proactive to take an opportunity that's come across them, and I know that.
With that recommendation, I've done a fair bit of work for the plumbing down here, and I realise what goes on there. And I just like to see them go forward without, their hardships or anything. Good on.
Anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, I'll speak in favour. Really pleased that there is an anonymous person putting the rest up, so they can go ahead. And even more reason to support it.
Okay, so we have 3 people who've spoken in support. Is there anyone who wants to speak against? Okay, so I'm going to put that to the vote. All in favour for that $10,000? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Is there anyone against? Anyone abstain? That has passed. Well done, team. Moving down to the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approve the sum of blank plus just if applicable to be paid from the board's pride of place fund account to Shari Wilkinson for costs towards the Kura Dome. So remember that was Waikiwi, and the very articulate Shari came with the support of her whānau around this dome. I'm happy to move that. Is there anyone? 2 seconds. Yep, member Mokoraka's seconds. I will move for the recommended amount of $15,000. Are you happy? Yeah. 2 seconds. That Kapai. So as the mover, I'll speak to that. I wasn't quite sure, but listening to the whānau kōrero and getting a more full picture of what they are already doing, and I have seen some of their activities that they do with the tamariki and the whānau out at Waikiwi, and their aspiration, and the fact that it is open, that they are wanting people to come in and wanting to engage and to use that space for their kaupapa of environmental tikanga and all of the things offered there, and having some knowledge of that whānau and the hapu out there are very proactive, run very big contracts, so I have no worries about if they have the capacity. It is a good chunk of money, but I do strongly support.
Yeah, I just think it's awesome. The fact that she spoke to who said the whero being rangatahi, that's absolutely what I want to see, and that they came with, a good amount of the infrastructure with bringing their tent and just trying to figure out how to do something with what they've already got. I just think, I think it's exactly what I'm going to support. And as I say, lots of opportunity for whakawhanangatanga with across our world.
Anyone else like to speak?
Am I allowed to speak on?
I'm happy to speak.
No, conflict of interest.
I'm happy to speak.
Oh,
Yeah.
Preferably not, just to keep you safe at this point. And I'll just check with Aisha. Yeah, just to keep you safe.
Yes, to me, from what I've seen, it's a very strong community initiative. So I actually need support. I know you said it's a reasonable chunk of money. We're getting short on it. But there's a question that's burning in my mind, but I'll find out later, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct anyway. That being a very strong community initiative and what they're actually doing, therefore I support it, and I can see that it can make a significant impact in that small local community.
Is there anyone who speaks against this application?
I'm not too familiar about, this, what they want. But, I suppose you said you've been there. Have you?
I haven't been right up onto the Papakaina, but I know the law crew and the I know Whaia Wendy and the kaupapa there, and have met the members in other projects, but I haven't physically been up onto site.
Yeah, well, I just bit doubtful about recommending. They recommended 15,000. I'll be happy around about 10, I suppose. And are they going to do all the work themselves, or? Money for thought.
Right, so if we lose this this recommendation, we could come back to a lesser amount. So that's top one. Anyone else want to speak to you? Sorry.
no.
Aroha Nui,
Yeah, pai tautoko ngā kōrero, and any place in North Hokianga that provides for the well-being of rangatahi whānau, being such an isolated place, pai tautoko marika.
I'm going to put that to the vote for $15,000. All in favour? Aye. Any against?
I'll go along with it.
Okay. And any abstaining? Thank you, whānau. Through the chair.
I'm sorry, through the chair, I'll just report an abstention.
Oh, I'll come. Yes, kapai. Keep us all safe.
Now, through the chair, you have a total of all funding of $46,281.13 left. As I say, you've got about $25,000 worth of applications for next month already. I don't know whether you want to leave the remaining applications to lie on the table for next month, if you want to make a decision on them today. But be aware, as I say, you have just over $46,000 left total out of all of the money.
If I may respond, thank you. Given that's requested as 50, which is going to exceed everything, I'm inclined to leave it on the table. Based on what Member Van Garden said, I think last time. And why I'm saying that is because the heritage it is very likely to be a heritage building. It is a positive for the community, and I don't want to say, oh no, look, don't do that. I'd like to actually, I'm happy to give, actually I don't have a contact, I'm happy to give a contact number, and I'll ring the person first so that they can speak to the Northern branch of the Heritage Society to get some feedback for the next meeting.
Okay, so the recommendation is to leave this item to lie on the table. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Yeah, Member Van Garlen. Any further discussion on? So actually, are you doing to leave both to lie on the table, or just item F?
Well, we're dealing with item F.
Item F leaving to lie on the table.
What have we got left? Yeah, but item F. But I'm just talking about item F.
Halfway. item F to lie on the table. We have a mover and a seconder. Would you like to speak to that, Linda?
Yeah, I really do think that they need to talk to Heritage New Zealand. They're 154 years old. You know, the Masonic Hotel got $300,000 out of Heritage New Zealand as part of their upgrade. So, you know, suddenly that's going to open up a huge door. It might be a bit of red tape at the same time, but ongoing support from them is going to be valuable.
Right, we've got a form as we have people looking. Kaikohe, are there any further discussion about leaving this motion to lie on the table? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Aye. Any against leaving it to lie? Any abstentions? And abstaining, member Te Wake? Kaikohe. So, okay, we will, I'd like to pause and wait to our other members. Can I do that?
Yeah, do you want us to pause live stream and everyone can have a 5-minute break? Just pause and wait on the phone.
I think we'll just wait for I don't think they should be long. We are nearly there, whānau. This is our last item, and I think we should have everyone. While we are here, we have, after our formal meeting has closed, I have in front of me our post-meeting workshops, just so all of our members know that we'll have a debrief, which will include any points arising, discussion points arising from the hui, any public forum issues or the deputations, and also a few minutes for each member to discuss items of interest or what's going on or kōrero around their roles or what's happening in their communities. And I've asked Aisha at that time to also share with us the processes for putting items onto the agenda and also for putting through notices of motion and processes around that for our formal meetings. And following on from that, we are having Steve Cooney to talk to the CCTV update. We're just pausing, Councillor Allen. We wanted everyone in the room before we make our last recommendation. We'll just wait for member Port, and I'm just going through our post-meeting workshop discussions so that we're not sitting here in awkward silence and people know that we are also not running off. So there's a CCTV discussion coming up. There we'll have Dan Beaumar come for parking policy strategy. Both of those are about half an hour. We have our wonderful funding advisor determining a strategic approach to making grant funding applications, and everyone really timely feedback into her form to bring our kōrero into that, and that is with Catherine and also with our awesome Piggy. And that will be us. So we were just waiting because we need everybody in the room to have this. No, kapai. We've been sitting here a long time, 2 hours. We're nearly finished, whānau. So the recommendation is item G, and the recommendation actually is this, we will go with what it says here, that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approve the sum of blank plus just, if applicable, to be paid from the board's pride of place fund account to Dennis Orr for cost towards the installation of shade sails over FNDC picnic tables in Opununi or marketing. Do we have a mover for this motion?
Good timing.
No.
At the moment, the recommendation is to define, what is the process for?
Because you've got nothing on the table to discuss, a member could move a motion to either support the blank or to decline, and then that can form the basis of your discussion. So if Councillor Vusic wanted to move that the motion be declined, then that's okay.
It's just asking a question. Yeah.
So the recommendation on page 27 of your agenda is to support the application, but the recommendation from staff is that it be declined.
And if no one moves it, then it does not get on the table. So its motion is lost, so it does not.
So the motion is lost?
No one moves.
No one has moved it. Okay. Are you wanting to move something? Member Scarpa, Member Mukuraka?
Yeah, I'd move to let it lie until we know what the remainder of the budget looks like.
Through the chair, this has been left to lie twice already. And I get the feeling the board has thought about this already.
Yeah, and I can speak to my motion if it gets to the table.
Is there a seconder for leaving it to lie?
You want to leave it to lie?
Yeah.
Again?
Okay, as a mover, you get to speak to that, Member Mukuraka.
Yeah, and the main thing for me is just supporting the members around this table for what they're passionate about. And if there's an opportunity that this can be supported out of budget that we have to spend, if there is spend left over, that's my inclination, is to just support the members that have put their hand up to support the community.
Do you like to
No, actually, I'll change my mind. I'll just, there you go.
Okay, so if you're removing the seconder, is there anybody else who wants to second leaving it to lie? So we'll go back to our processes. So a member on his member Port has withdrawn his seconding, so that means we go back.
Yes, on the absence of a seconder, we don't debate the motion and we just carry on to the next item, but you could close your meeting.
Okay, so that was not carried, and we will go to closing our meeting. And we'll welcome member Orm back to the table, sort of acknowledge that he moved to the public space. So would somebody like to close us with a prayer?
Oti hoki na kōrero tama, o mātima, mo tēnei kaone hira I tēnei rā, o reira rai pāmai hoki te runga I runga mātu. Te haringa I tēnei whare o mātu nei na, te o mātu wākai, ake. Amen.